Chapter 7. Natasha sat in her drawing room, sipping her coffee and looking at the photos that hung on her walls. The photos were all of hers, taken by her husband Vikram, a fashion photographer, when she first became a model at 21. She had kept all the photos many years later. Maybe, now she thought, as a reminder of how wonderful Vikram had been in the beginning. He was the model boyfriend, the ideal husband, when they got married. The most amazing man she had ever met. He was kind, caring, loving, generous, thoughtful, and understanding. What more could a woman want? Natasha finished her coffee and walked back into the kitchen that resembled a village that had been hit by a tornado. Everywhere she looked were reminders of Vikram's early morning tantrum. Smashed pieces of plates on the floor, stains of masala on the wall, pieces of vegetables on the counter, broken eggs on the floor. He stormed off as soon as he finished his violent outburst, leaving her in tears and with a huge mess to clean up. It was not the first time that Vikram had thrown a fit, and like those other times, this was no fault of hers, though he damn well made it seem so. She had found him in the kitchen making breakfast, and she remarked to him how sweet he was. He asked, "What do you want in your eggs?" She said, "Throw in as many veggies as you see. I want a healthy breakfast." He put bread in the toaster and flipped an omelette in the pan. She noticed that he had used too much oil, and she casually said, "I think we should watch our oil, honey. We both have bad cholesterol." Snap! That was it. He took the ladle, picked up the eggs, and threw them out of the window. He yelled, "If you're the expert, then why don't you fucking make it?" She was shocked, but he continued, "What, bitch? You don't think I know how to cook? Here, let's see how you put vegetables in your food." He took out the vegetable crisper from the fridge and dumped the contents all over the countertop. "You want some pepper in it? Here, take the spices." He picked up the masala dabba and hurled it against the wall. Natasha tried to calm him down. "Honey, it's okay. Whatever you made was perfect. Let me help you make some fresh eggs. Should I make them for you?" "You don't like your eggs that way?" He took the eggs out of the fridge, holding two in each hand, and flung them on the floor. "Cook that now." With that, he wiped his hands on the kitchen towel and walked out of the door, leaving Natasha extremely puzzled as to what she had said that was so wrong as to have triggered Vikram's rage. She began sobbing uncontrollably as she leaned against the refrigerator, praying for a solution to his anger. She let herself cry for some time, then composed herself and calmly made a cup of coffee. She sat down to ponder over what had happened and where her life had taken this drastic turn. They started dating when she was very young and he was 6 years older. Her parents had disapproved, telling her to focus on her studies instead. But she was already making great money as a model and felt independent enough to make her own choices. Vikram took her side and encouraged her to continue with her career. When he finally proposed, she had been a model for 8 long years and felt ready to be a wife. 2 years of travel and a bag full of memories later, they decided to have a child. Natasha was then 26 and quite clueless about how she would raise Dia. Soon all her friends, who were still professional models and traveling across the globe, dropped out of her life. Dia was also proving to be a difficult baby, keeping her mother up all night and always preferring to cling to Natasha than be cared for by the nanny. Natasha's mother and mother-in-law both came, ostensibly to lend a hand, but they were hardly any help as they were old and needed caring themselves. Eventually, Natasha politely told them they could go, and it was back to just her and the baby, and rarely the nanny. In the early years of Dia's life, Vikram was traveling constantly. In the rare times that he was at home, he really wasn't there to help. His only preoccupation was taking photos of the child. Even in the smallest of activities, like burping the baby or taking her around the garden in the stroller, Vikram would call the nanny. When Natasha asked him why he couldn't do the basic child-rearing activities himself, back came the reply. "I'm paying for maids anyway," he told Natasha one day. "Why are they there if I have to do everything myself?" Natasha resented it, but let him be. But before she was prepared to admit it, she was resenting the fact that Dia kept her bound to the house and she seemed to have lost her freedom. There would always be one or another reason why she couldn't do what she desired. When Dia began going to school, Natasha wanted to start something on her own, but Dia was always getting into trouble and Natasha couldn't concentrate on any of her projects. Vikram indulged his daughter in everything, and he never denied her in the smallest of wants. Natasha remembered once when Dia was 5, she had prepared a regular, lovely dinner for the family. Vikram had come home from work, and Dia had asked for pizza. Without another word, he had ordered the pizza. When Natasha told him that dinner was already prepared, and she had taken Dia to a birthday party just the previous day where she had had pizza, Vikram had flared up and said, "So what, Natasha? Can't the child have what she likes? My God!" Natasha could only guess that this was why Dia turned out to be a brat as she grew older. Whether it was food and toys when she was small, or designer clothes and the latest mobile phones as she grew up, Vikram gave Dia everything. Eventually, Dia learned that it was her father who always said yes, and Natasha's relevance to her life decreased until there was no respect left for her mother. The smallest issues in the household triggered nasty arguments with Vikram. He wanted her to still work, but she just wasn't able to find any. It was only a matter of time before she needed to take antidepressant pills. Vikram's mood swings, meanwhile, became more extreme. He would go from being a happy soul who would put on an old record and start dancing with Natasha and kissing her passionately, to a brooding, reserved, and even extremely upset man who didn't want to touch her. Natasha would be very scared of him then, tiptoeing around him, serving him food and sitting quietly in one place until his mood lifted again. No one knew about his dark side. She never told her friends, as she was sure they would advise her to leave him, and she couldn't. She didn't have enough reason. Not the money. He had never hit her, only raised his voice a few times, slammed a few drawers in front of her, and smashed things around to terrorize her. He succeeded, of course. But then shortly, he would start being nice again, even extra sweet. He would cook for her and buy her expensive presents. Then things would be fine for a month or two, before he erupted again. Today's bout of rage in the kitchen had come just after 2 weeks of peace. Natasha wondered if this was going to be a regular pattern in her life and what she needed to do about it. She sighed and picked up her phone to send a message to her friends on the lovely ladies' WhatsApp group they had created for themselves. "Want to come over for coffee?" She needed some female company and a bit of superficial banter to take her mind off her issues. She wasn't the kind of person who could confront problems head-on. She always asked people and Vikram for advice in her life. Her friends in the building were her soulmates. At the ripe old age of 41, Natasha knew that she could no longer make new friends. It was too difficult to socialize with her old model friends, and she hardly went anywhere to meet new people. Sarita wrote back, "Can't, at gym." Natasha was puzzled. What had gotten into Sarita that she was perpetually at the gym? Maybe she needed to start exercising as well, she thought. Vikram had earlier bought her a stationary cycle and told her to start using it. It was now being employed to hang towels when it rained. She did yoga 3 times a week at the local gym, and it was good enough for her. She did it more for the breathing, they thought, that helped her calm her mind. What was the point of exercising beyond that? Her body was still toned and slim, but not skinny that was needed for the ramp. And with the new crop of models entering the market, as a mother, her options for work were, ironically, slim. Her days of self-starvation and working out were over. She sat at home and watched daily soaps, a bowl of popcorn in hand. She saw 2 more messages on her phone, both from the lovely ladies group. Aarti was travelling, and Geeta was helping Renuka with her homework. Natasha uttered a thank you for the fact that Dia did most of her homework in school or went for tuitions where she completed her school assignments. She simply had no patience to sit and help with her child's homework. Natasha decided to go to the mall. Dia wouldn't be back from school till 5 in the evening, and it was only 11 o'clock, the twilight time of day for every housewife, when the children had left for school, the maids had finished their chores, and the husband had gone to work. There wasn't a single thing left to do. It was the time when housewives felt helpless, as if their lives were going nowhere. A dead period between hectic activity and lunch that made a woman question her choices in life. A time to ponder how an intelligent woman had such a deep sense of seclusion from the world, that no one understood her and she had nowhere to go. She wasn't alone, she guessed, and most housewives experience such emptiness. So they sat and watched TV, or went to the gym, or tried to busy themselves in some work that would distract them from those 2 dreariest hours of the day. But not today. Natasha needed a pick-me-up today. Natasha wore her white denim pants, a short lemon top, some beads around her neck, and beige wedge heels. She applied some light lipstick to boost her morale. She was in no mood to clean up the mess that Vikram had made. Today was going to be about her. She grabbed her bag and checked her image in the hall mirror before stepping out. For a moment, she saw a lonely-looking woman of 41 who had spent her entire life looking after her family and had got nothing to show for it. They hated her, and she hated herself. She needed to change that. She desperately wanted a little laughter and some happiness in her life. She opened her heart to the universe and asked for a miracle.